Freakonomics Radio is supported by Magoosh. Preparing for a standardized test like the ACT, GRE, or GMAT? Get a great score with Magoosh Online Test Prep. Plans include study schedules, practice questions, video lessons, and support from expert tutors. Enter promo code FREAK at magoosh.com for 20% off.
Freakonomics Radio is supported by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Home plays a big role in your life, and that's why Quicken Loans created Rocket Mortgage. It lets you apply simply and understand the entire mortgage process fully, so you can be confident that you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/freak. Let me ask you a question. When you buy tickets to a big concert or a professional sports event or a hot Broadway play, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the ticket buying experience? Think about everything from the price to the availability of tickets to the transparency of the whole transaction. Okay? Now, say your number. Ooh, it's even worse than I thought you'd say. All right, now rate the experience of the last non-ticket purchase you made. Clothing or groceries, maybe a piece of furniture. Now, how would you rate that experience? Yeah, that sounds about right. Most markets these days are pretty transparent and predictable and sensible. But the ticket market?
This is a market that's been screwed up for a long time.
That's Eric Budish, an economist who's written a paper on the ticket market. And when he says it's screwed up, well, you already knew that, didn't you? You already knew that the hotter the event is, the more likely it'll somehow be sold out the minute tickets go on sale. You also know that scalpers somehow always get plenty of tickets, and they charge prices that could send a kid to college. You know all about those service fees, too.
Our investigation found that the venues and ticket vendors like Ticketmaster and Tickets.com can add on significant fees that as much as double the price of the ticket.
That's Eric Schneiderman, New York State's Attorney General, talking about his investigation into various consumer abuses in the ticketing industry. One big focus, the software bots that scalpers use to scoop up the best tickets before anybody else can get them. The majority of tickets for the most popular concerts, the report read, are not reserved for the general public. None of Schneiderman's findings were particularly surprising to anyone. Remember, this is the ticket market we're talking about.
This is a market that's been screwed up for a long time.
It's been so screwed up for so long that occasionally someone tries to do something about it. Recently, that someone was Bruce Springsteen. It's hard to think of a performer with a more loyal fan base than Springsteen. So when he announced that he was bringing a new intimate show to a Broadway theater with a capacity of under 1,000 seats, he wanted to make sure his fans and not scalpers got the tickets, some of which would be priced as low as $75. Springsteen also has more leverage than the typical performer, so he partnered with Ticketmaster to use a new program called Verified Fan. Ticketmaster calls Verified Fan, quote, a really big robot to protect fans from the thousands of little scalper bots trying to scoop up tickets. One night, we went up to the Walter Kerr Theater on Broadway, where Springsteen was playing, to see if the people who wound up with tickets were indeed hardcore fans.
I got an early start when he first started, like way back in the days when he was playing to no crowds. So way back when.
I've seen him probably, 10 or so times since, and I've turned my kids on to be Bruce fans.
Time to go in. Love Springsteen. Been seeing him for 42 years now.
You know, when we got married, I knew it was God, Bruce, and then me. That was the order in line.
So, problem solved? Maybe. But remember,
this is a market that's been screwed up for a long time.
What you don't know about the screwy ticket market could fill an entire episode of Freakonomics Radio. And today, it will. We'll hear from the ticket sellers.
We are the recipient of the fans' ire. And, it's a tough spot to be in.
We'll hear from Broadway producers.
I mean, if steam is coming out of my ears now when you asked, how do I feel about it?
We'll hear from ticket scalpers.
The bots are really a red herring because we could only get the amount of seats that they would sell.
And we'll hear from you, the fans.
I can't accept it. It's not. It hurts me, really.
From WNYC Studios, this is Freakonomics Radio, the podcast that explores the hidden side of everything. Here's your host, Stephen Dubner.
Okay, let's start with the economists.
My name is Alan Kruger. I'm an economics professor at Princeton University.
Kruger has also held big jobs in government, in Treasury, the Department of Labor.
And then from 2011 to 2013, I served as chairman of President Obama's Council of Economic Advisors.
So what's Kruger have to do with the ticket market?
Well, at the moment, I have many endeavors related to rock and roll.
Research endeavors, we should say.
And I'm in the process of writing a book on economics and music.
And then there's Eric Budish, whom we met earlier.
Sure. So I'm a professor of economics at the University of Chicago Booth School of Business, and I do research on market design.
Excellent. Market design. So let's start with that. What's your view on kind of the markets that do work well, and what are the characteristics of a market that needs a bit more tending to than others?
That's a hard question. I don't know if I have a quick and articulate answer to that. Markets and societies need rules. So I think of market design research as trying to get the rules of the game right so that then competition can work its magic.
You've argued as an academic that at least one segment of the financial markets, at least one, high-frequency trading, is badly in need of a market redesign. Yes? Could you explain?
Yeah, so I remember at the time being genuinely puzzled how it could be worth so much money to be 0.003 of a second faster than the competition. And where my research ultimately led was this observation or this understanding that current financial exchanges have a design glitch. One way to think about it is when stock markets transitioned from being run by humans screaming in pits to being run electronically, we forgot to tell the computer to put time into a unit like a second or even a millisecond. And because of this failure to put time into units, the design encouraged competition on speed. It became economically meaningful to be even a billionth of a second faster than the competition. So stock exchanges sell what's called co-location, the right to put your computers next to their computers. They sell that for a lot of money. They make more money from that than they do from trading fees, from trading shares of stock.
Gotcha.
And the market design reform I've proposed in my research is to put time into units, and then you can run what are called frequent batch auctions. Auctions conducted extremely quickly by human standards, but at a time interval that's slow enough for a computer to transform the nature of competition from competition on speed into competition on price.
And has that solution been put into play even on an experimental basis?
So no. There are kind of practical reasons why not, and then there's Chicago lunch table reasons why not. The practical reasons why not are market design reforms take time, and this is a particularly high-stakes market. There's also the Chicago lunch table reason, which is that there are a lot of incumbents who make a lot of money from the status quo.
At first glance, you might think high-frequency trading has nothing in common with the live event ticket market, but as we'll learn today, there are at least a couple important overlaps, especially the speed-based competition and the power of the status quo. Okay, let's start to unpack this. First of all, let's think about the nature of the ticket market. Here, again, are Eric Budish and Alan Kruger.
Well, I think it's different than most markets. It's an experienced good. The emotional connection is the product. That's what separates it from buying canned peas.
Event tickets were underpriced from the 19th century. Event tickets remain mispriced to this day.
I love that you go right to tickets being underpriced, because I bet a lot of people hearing this think, oh man, no. Events, musical events, concerts, sports events, they're way overpriced. But you, the economist, go straight to underpriced. Can you explain that?
Sure. So you caught me being an economist. Thank you for that. So artists often want to sell their tickets to an economist an artificially low price. And what I mean by that is a price at which demand dramatically exceeds supply.
For example, Bruce Springsteen cares deeply about his fans, and he wants them to care deeply about him, and he doesn't want to develop the reputation as gouging his fans. That's less the case when you go to the grocery store.
So what does this lead to? This leads to high school kids waiting in line for long amounts of time to try to get these underpriced tickets. It leads to ticket brokers waiting in line or finding other more nefarious ways to get underpriced tickets to then resell them at a more market-clearing price.
I've heard artist managers say, and multiple artist managers say they would like to have their clients charge a higher price, but the artists are reluctant. They're sensitive to what's written about them on social media.
So economists are puzzled by the fact that ticket prices are often too low. If a ticket price is too low, that means the artist or the venue, someone's leaving a lot of money on the table. And then this fervent resale market where all of the profits from the underpriced tickets, instead of going to fans, go to ticket brokers or go to StubHub or go to other secondary market venues.
And we should say that ticket brokers, StubHub, secondary market venues, all of them are basically, is that what you would call as an economist rent-seeking?
Yeah, so a lot of that activity is what I would call rent-seeking. And the basic economic point is that if an artist sells a ticket for $50, but the price at which that ticket clears the market is more like $500, there's $450 of profit that's going somewhere. And a lot of that activity isn't socially useful, so it's profit-seeking without social value.
Global primary market ticket sales are estimated at around $30 billion a year. Secondary market sales on markets like StubHub are estimated at another $10 billion. So that's a lot of rent-seeking. We should point out, however, that a resale market like StubHub serves another purpose.
StubHub acts as an insurance policy.
That's Sandeep Baliga, an economist at Northwestern.
If you're sick, or if you can't go to a game and so on and so forth. That aspect of StubHub actually helps the originator of the ticket. Because now the originator of the ticket can say, look, before I was pricing it lower because you had no resale opportunities, but now you can resell the ticket on StubHub. And so because of that insurance, I'm going to actually charge you more because I know that you have a safety net should you need one.
Talk about scooping up tickets in the primary market with the use of either just good strategy or bots or any other technological kind of workaround.
That's competition to an economist, a strange dimension. Competition on speed rather than price. That's the connection to my stuff on high-frequency trading. It's competition, but it's not a productive form of competition.
Modern ticket selling strikes me as so old-fashioned and suboptimal in that, all the tickets are released at once at a price with only a kind of haphazard guess as to what the actual demand is or what the price elasticity may be. It reminds me of the bread drops in the old Soviet Union where you'd hear that on Thursday morning, this market will have bread, and then you have long lines and an immediate sellout, and then the bread gets resold on the black market. So with the tickets, they're not using price theory at all the way economists would like to use price theory, right?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. The tickets are sold at a price, at a moment in time. And it is useful for venues to be able to plan in advance. So one reason why tickets are sold all at once is, well, if a concert is sold out, an artist might add another date.
There's a quote in your paper that I was very intrigued by. It's from a former chairman of Ticketmaster, Terry Barnes, quoted in the Wall Street Journal in 2006 saying, "We're in an industry that prices its product worse than anybody else." So that's kind of discouraging since Ticketmaster is the behemoth of ticket selling. You would think the one thing they would know is how to price tickets.
So Ticketmaster they're the largest primary market distributor of tickets in the world. And when they say they price their products worse than anybody else, they're working on behalf of clients, whether it's Beyonce or the New York Knicks. And the industry historically has been really bad at it.
Yeah, so the ticketing value chain is opaque to most people.
It's David Marcus.
I am the head of music at Ticketmaster North America.
And because the ticketing chain is so opaque,
I'm going to walk backwards through the chain so you understand how everybody's connected. Ticketmaster contracts with